Okay, so part two of showing you that just about everything is built from concrete, and I'm not going to speak too much during this one. I'm just going to flip through the images because after digesting what I put forward to you there in part one, you should be able to recognize this stuff now going forward. And then when I make the video that I'm wanting to make on rebar structures, and you know, being able to recognize that everything is built from rebar, just methods that I would build today, and recognizing what things would look like after being completely pulverized, and you know what lime eventually does to anything. So anyway, we left that part one on this thing, and this is built no different to how you would build a bunker, like a modern day bunker. And yes, so again, you know, the lime runs out, creates a hard surface, and then you're left with this type of material. Yeah, you can see all the sand inside, you can see the colour of it and where the rebar was. Okay, so we'll move on. And like I said, I'm not going to speak too much, there's no need to. This is obviously something buried. This thing I was showing you because the last one was called Polygonal Masonry, and I said that much of this stuff is built from megastructures falling down. I explained these lines here because the megalithic community think that everything is done from machining. Yeah, so they don't explain where the machines are, or you know what this stuff was. They see lines, you know, every time they see a hole they think that that was some type of core drilling device that had done it. And that everywhere you're seeing lines like this, that is some type of machine, you know, saw that's done it, and it's not. I've told you holes can be created from bars, metal, whatever, rusting away and leaving an imprint in something. This has been done from being tapped out. This will have either been a floor or a wall, and these are just where you've just laid it and you've smeared it on, or you've tapped it out with a beam with two guys on either end. This, you can see that this wall has been built separately. That's why it's different colours and there's gaps in it. But look, it's the colour, it's recognising concrete, isn't it? None of this stuff has been quarried away, none of it. It's concrete, which is how seriously advanced civilizations build, like we do today. Get to grips with how this stuff looks. Look at the colour of that. Yeah, because you know, if it's ancient concrete, it will either be limestone, yeah, because you know all the sand either runs out, or all the lime runs out and creates a hard surface on the floor, and it ends up looking like sandstone. But you can still recognise it because the lime gets sucked out to the outside and forms a hard surface on the outside, which will eventually crumble away. You know, in this instance, because there's different grades of concrete, this one has ended up keeping the sand rather than the lime. Okay, this was the megalithic community have got this down as some quarry, ancient quarry, right, where they've been carving away blocks from, you know, to build a structure. But it's not. This was a structure, in fact, and it was built from concrete, and that's why you've got that shape from that block. If you've got something that's starting to harden, if you make concrete, or you get some plasticine and plonk it on a surface, the weight of it from density will form this shape as it pulls down and then hardens, right? But again, look at the colour and look at this area here. All the lime has come out and formed a hard surface on the outside. It's that really what I want you to recognise. Again, look at the colour. This is being formed in the fashion that I told you. They've been putting these down in little pieces, and as they harden, they put the next piece down that doesn't quite stick. and over time it ends up looking like this. Whether they did that on purpose to form a wall like this, or this here, you will recognize this is what I'm talking about. How this is something modern, right? How the lime in the concrete gets sucked out to the outside somehow, and all the sand and stones are inside. Get to grips with how this looks, because you will see it everywhere. If this wall wasn't made like this, yeah, you look, you can't form a thin, an inch thick wall of lime and then throw a load of sand inside. No, you can't. This was all concrete, and it's acted and done what I've just told you. This is Baalbek. Look at it. This was built from rebar, because that's why it's bent there. As this fell down off this wall, it didn't crumble away because it's got rebar in it. That's why it's bent. Yeah, if it didn't have rebar in it, it would have, this bit would have fallen on the floor. But look at the colour of it, and it had bars in it, just like how we built today, but it's the colour that I want you to recognise. Yeah, this is Baalbek again, and it's concrete. This was a giant, massive megastructure. We're talking about cities here, like skyscrapers, and it's all crumbled and fallen away. Most of it will be buried underground to depths unimaginable. But everything you see here is concrete, right? The megalithic community has got this down as a quarry. Everything, look, I need to do a video on this. Everything that they say is a quarry, and that blocks were quarried away to build structures nearby, they're not. Every single one was a structure, and I will show you that eventually. Again, look at the colour. Yes, I've told you, you know, just plonking blocks down on top of blocks isn't advanced, right? It's building with rebar and girders, you know, and CNC machining. That's how advanced civilizations build. But in this case, it's the size of what we're talking about, isn't it? It was obviously built by giants. Look at the colour of it. And how the lime gets sucked to the outside and forms a hard surface. Look at these blocks here. This picture is something modern, right? And I put this in to show you this again. Look how the lime has got sucked to the outside. This forms very hard, and then inside is all the sand and the little stones that they form the concrete with. Because that's exactly what this site is, yeah? This is in Syria. I've got a load of images on these sites in Syria. You know, researchers will think that this has been buried from sand blowing around for thousands of years, but it hasn't. It's exactly what I've just shown you. This was a city built from concrete and metal and plastics and glass, right? And it all eventually looks like this and goes back to the earth. No matter what it is, if it's formed from the earth, it will go back to the earth. This thing, again, this is not granite, it's not andesite, it's not anything, it's concrete. Look at the colour of it. Yeah, rebar and girders. Look at that. That will have been some type of girder or wood, but it's leached and soaked up all the lime, because I've told you, lime, the lime in this stuff can turn anything into limestone. Anything. I will do a video on that later. Even bones, right? I will show you bones and all sorts of things. Look at the colour of it. Yeah? It was a megastructure, a skyscraper that has fallen down. As the rebar rusts away and all the, you know, as all the metal rusts away, it falls down. This is not the floor. All the lime has ran out of this. These are where beams will have been, yeah? So this is not the floor, is it? Yeah? Because, I mean, this would only be about 3 or 4 foot high. And this is what I'm getting at. All the lime runs out and forms a hard surface, which they think is the floor. But, yeah, I've put this in to show you this. That a part of the lime there that's formed has fallen away, and you can see what this thing was built from inside. Can you see those bars? Yeah? These will be metal, you know, will have been metal bars that ran up these walls like that, and then they poured concrete into it. These blocks are, there's something else going on in here. Anyway, you know, it's the colour that I'm showing you. This stuff here, these in Peru, and they're known as the blue the blue stones. Well, this actually looks like a covering to me. If you look in here, look, can you see all this sand? It's no different to the stuff I've just shown you in modern times, yeah? So, you know, even in modern times, what I'm getting at, this stuff can't have actually been around for this long, really, you know. I mean, I know there's different grades of it, but this stuff, because I think that this has been put together shabbily, and I'm going to tell you that actually this was actually, all this stuff belongs here. It was all smooth at one time, put on by hand by giants, because these are fingerprints, like I've shown you before, around the obelisk, yeah? But over time, it just cracks. This was a smothering. Can you see how thick it is? This was a smothering over concrete of lime. This is Baalbek again. Roger Spur is telling you that these are tendons, right? But actually, I thought that there might have been bullet holes, but I think this is at rebar. I'll make another video on Baalbek. I've shown you that this is all once a concrete structure. None of it were built from blocks. This is actually part of something like I'm going to show you next. It's actually snapped as this. This is snapped. It's actually arched. Yeah, that block is arched at the front. And what those holes are is where rebar was. Okay? That's rusted away. This is Baalbek, and look at it. It's concrete, okay? This was part of the structure when it stood up. Can you see that? How it's bent, you know, over time. It gets soft, but again, they think this is a quarry. Do you think you'd be able to quarry this stuff away? Baalbek. You can see where all the rebar was, and bars and beams. Yeah, anywhere where you see a square hole is where metal was. But look at the colour of it. It's not a quarry. It was a mega structure that's fallen down. This bit here, this is where big girders were, right? But look at that area there. It's either where rebar was that's rusted away, or it's this, something like this. I know you'll have seen these yourself. And there's your rebar coming out of that block, like I've just shown you. When I showed you this site here, this wall here, I've told you, you know, because a lot of people got mad about this, right? You know, at the end of the day, I've told you, it will either turn back into stone, metal will turn back into stone, events we don't know of, or it's the imprint of. But you can see where the metal's rusted away, and this is, and well, it's like what I've just shown you. But this stuff here, I need to do a lot more searching on these types of sites. Can you see that square hole there? That's where a bar was. But if you look here, as this thing snapped away, this is where beams will have been inside, like that. Can you see that back piece? So these things just haven't been dragged around by people in loincloths. This was a mega structure at one time, built from rebar and any other method that we use today. Just like this. That is where the rebar inside has been rusting out, and it's still rusting out of it today. This is concrete, very ancient concrete. It's just over time it turns very, very hard, just like it does on the insides of caves. Okay, that's a person, is ancient rebar, which was concrete. Look at the colour of it. This is not quarrying this stuff. How could you quarry this? It'd crumble away in your hands. It's ancient rebar structures. This is not where they've been machining blocks away. How would you cut the back piece out? It's ridiculous. But anyway, you can see, look,